Hey, this is JJ Virgin. Welcome and thanks so much for joining me. This is Ask the Health Expert. Here I put the power of health in your hands and give you access to the top people in health and wellness. In each episode, I share safe ways to get healthy, lose weight, heal your gut, detox, and lots more. So if you want to get healthy and get off the dieting for life merry-go-round, I'll give you strategies that will help you look and feel better fast. Hey, today we are going to answer a question that keeps coming up and coming up and coming up. So first question I always get asked is, what the heck should I eat? Beyond that, and really I wrote the Virgin Diet to help you figure out which foods work for you and which foods don't. And then the next question is, okay, how much? How much of the different things? And of course, Sugar Impact Diet is really written to help you figure out where sugar is sneaking in and how many carbs you should have. But the big question is that I get asked a lot is on protein. So I decided to go straight to my pal, the amazing Dr. Gabrielle Lyon, who I had the good fortune to meet a couple years ago because my other pal, the amazing Emily Fletcher of Ziva Meditations, like, you got to meet my girlfriend, Gabrielle. I'm like, all right. So we went out to dinner in San Diego. I fell in love with her because she is just everything. And we've been pals ever since. So let me tell you a little bit about Dr. Gabrielle Lyon. She's first off, I'm going to read kind of the basics, then tell you the amazing. So the basics, which are amazing themselves, is she's fellowship trained and board certified from WashU in St. Louis. By the way, WashU in St. Louis has the Virgin Labs. My brother-in-law, Herbert Whiting III, has his retrovirus lab in WashU. Just a little aside. Her fellowship training was both clinical and research-based in obesity medicine, nutritional sciences, and geriatrics. She has an amazing private practice in New York City. But even more amazing than that, she is the go-to doc for the elite military, for the special ops guys, the SEALs and the Green Berets, those ones. So that is pretty crazy. And the thing that she's known for is muscle-centric medicine. So I am going to be yakking with her today about building muscle, why this matters so much, how you can do it, how you hold on to it, and the protein, and how much protein do you really need? Because we get asked this all the time. So she's my go-to on it. Now, before I dive into that, I want to do a shout out to Ashley Allen. And Ashley Allen, and her screen name is Ashley Allen Fit, sent a review in to iTunes, my favorite podcast, 5 stars. And she says, I am a huge fan of this podcast. It's nourishing, entertaining, and very educational. JJ is an incredible host and authentically dives deep into each topic with her guests. I recently just started my thyroid healing journey after years of dieting and overtraining, so these episodes are really helping me. JJ, I just love you, and I want to thank you for all the work that you're doing. You're truly making a difference and are such an inspiration to me. Big heart. Ashley Allen, Scottsdale, Arizona. Thank you. That is so awesome. And I am most excited about you doing your thyroid healing. And we've had some incredible guests on the show, of course, with starting with Dr. Isabella Wentz. And by the way, shout out for Isabella with her new Hashimoto's Protocol Cookbook. Amazing, fabulous, incredible book. So I just want to do a shout out there. And I want to remind you all, we always have amazing, incredible. I know amazing is my word for today. All right. I admit it. And it's amazing. So we have amazing show notes, and Gabrielle is giving the coolest gift ever. You'll hear all about it. You'll be able to grab it, and everything else we yak about at jjvirgin.com/muscle. All right. Before we dive in, I want to share one of my favorites with you.
This episode is brought to you by Netflix. The Four Seasons is back for season 2, starring Tina Fey, Will Forte, Coleman Domingo, Marco Calvani, Carrie Kenny Silver, and Erica Henningsen. After a difficult year, your favorite group of friends continues their tradition of vacationing together, now with a baby in tow. From the Jersey Shore to upstate New York and Italy, their getaways are sure to take unexpected turns where comedy ensues. Watch The Four Seasons May 28th only on Netflix.
Dr. Gabrielle Lyon, welcome to the show. I'm super excited to be chatting with you.
I can't wait to be here. I'm so happy.
Well, believe it or not, like this is going to sound crazy to you, but we've actually not talked about protein and muscle. We've not talked about on this podcast yet. I get asked all the time, how much protein should I eat? And like, how do I build muscle? So like, I am glad that I went straight to my number one source for all this. But what I love to dive into and start with is you're known for muscle-centric medicine, and you're my go-to on all of this. But how did you get into this?
I love this question. I happen to be a second generation functional medicine practitioner. My godmother, her name is Liz Galipsky, is one of the original OGs of functional medicine nutrition. And I moved in with her when I was 17. And that really changed the trajectory of my education. I became very interested in nutrition. Then I went to my undergraduate in human nutrition, vitamin, mineral metabolism, and that was all about protein. I trained with one of the world leading experts in protein metabolism. And as an athlete, it just shaped my perspective. So, in a nutshell, that's how I got here.
Yay. Well, I am happy you're here because, again, there is so much crazy misinformation out there about this. And before we start to talk about protein needs and why we need protein, all that, let's kind of back it up and talk muscle in the first part. Muscle. Why is this so important on our body? And I'll just preface it by saying, back when I was in graduate school, and everything back then was about, okay, if you want to lose weight, you have to do lots and lots and lots of cardio. And I go, this doesn't make any sense. I'm down at Gold's Gym in Venice with all these bodybuilders. They're not doing any cardio. They're really lean. They've got amazing muscle. And I see just the opposite with all these people doing cardio. So it just blows my mind that I still feel like this crazy urban legends out there that we need to do loads of cardio. Why is muscle so important?
Muscle is the largest organ in the body. Everybody thinks it is solely for locomotion, for exercise, for moving, but actually it is an endocrine organ. What does that mean? It means it secretes things. When you exercise, you actually secrete anti-inflammatory chemicals that lower inflammation in the body. So that's one aspect. The next aspect is it's responsible for your metabolism. Everybody has heard about metabolism, and they hear that as you age, that your metabolism changes. Actually, it's your muscle mass that changes. So muscle is very important for your resting metabolic rate, your metabolism. Essentially, it's responsible for the calories that you burn at rest.
So, when you look at it, then it's like the biggest thing that you can do to really change your basal metabolic rate. And I remember seeing a picture. One of my friends was talking about the fact that marathon runners have the same muscle mass as couch potatoes, which is just a shocking statement, right? But it makes sense because of what's happening when you're doing all that, cardio. It's like you're not building muscle going out on a 3-hour run.
Absolutely. And when you think about longevity and postmenopausal hormonal changes, the more muscle you have, the better you age. It's essential.
So let's look at that then, because, you see people losing muscle as they age, but they don't have to, right?
No, you don't. There is this natural decline that will happen if you are doing a ton of cardio and you're not lifting weights and you're not getting your protein right. So muscle can be stimulated largely in two ways. Number one, through dietary protein, and number two, through resistance exercise. All of which are in our control.
Yes, which is super awesome. Now, let's talk about protein, because in terms of building muscle, I think there's this idea that, what you just really need to do is just eat a lot of protein. It's like, well, you actually have to stress the muscles too, but then of course you need to give the muscles what they need. So dietary protein, how is that, what's the importance here for muscle health?
It's really interesting. Dietary protein is really the black sheep of the macronutrient family.
I know. Like, why the
Really?
heck is that? And then, I mean, then we're going to talk about like plant-based versus
Yeah.
animal protein too. We'll get into that. But yeah, why the heck is it
It's
that way?
because it's the only macronutrient that is emotional. Everybody knows that too many carbohydrates are bad for you, that excess sugar is bad for you. We used to think that fat was bad for us, but we know that a moderate amount of fat is good. And then the last kind of the black sheep is protein, and it's because it has a face. It's very emotional for people, and that skews their ability to make good decisions that are evidence based versus feeling based.
Mm. All right. So the other side of it too is, I mean, when I look at everything, I think, all right, actually, protein's the easiest thing when you really look at it because, and I'd love to hear how you dose protein, but to me, that's the most stable thing that we have. And carbohydrates will vary, right? Based on what's going on. But like you need to get that consistent protein in. So what when you look at how much protein someone needs, because again, this is like this question I get asked all the time, and oh my gosh, you read the different research or not research, you read the different recommendations by all the health experts, and someone like never eat animal protein, then someone's like you need to eat lots and lots. It's like okay,
And
okay, expert.
it's very confusing for people.
It's very confusing. Let's talk about first before we get into like how much protein. Let's talk about the difference in bioavailability. Like, what's the difference between plant protein and animal protein, and then good animal protein and bad animal
I
protein?
am so glad you asked that.
Can
Oftentimes,
you tell that's a hot button for me? I am so sick of people, to me, when I look at the whole vegan versus paleo, it's like you have a vegan pulling out and comparing, saying it's, meat is bad, but they're looking at factory cow meat. I'm like, well, yeah, if you shove cows in close confine and shoot them up with a bunch of stuff and feed them GMO food, it's bad. That's not
that's
what we're
not what we're
talking about.
talking about.
So, okay, now I'm going to breathe and let you just go on
So,
your rant.
the very first question you asked me was, why is protein important? And why is it important for muscle? Well, protein is so important for muscle because if you think about it, like feeds like. So, animal sources feed our muscle tissue. And the reason that is so important is because it's based on something called branched chain amino acids. And I don't want to get too deep into the science because I want this to be usable for everybody. But the quality of protein is determined by that very thing, which is the branched chain amino acids. Those branched chains are different in plant versus animal. For example, one chicken breast that has around 30 grams of protein, let's say that's around 4 ounces. And to get the equivalent amount of plant protein, you would need between 4 and 6 cups of quinoa to get the quality of the protein that you need because the branched chain amino acids are lower in plant protein.
Which, by the way, is gonna slam you over how many carbohydrates you should be eating. Just
100%.
slam you, That's the biggest challenge I see with this stuff. I'm like, "All right, how do you get in the protein you need without going excessively high in carbohydrates?" Or, if you're trying to lower your carbohydrates, how do you get it without like, your fat will be off the chart. So,
You have to really get the good quality sourcing that we talked about, and animal sourcing is of a very high quality, and that could be in the form of lean meats, turkey, chicken, eggs, even whey protein that has a great amount and a balanced amount of branched chain amino acids, which are necessary to feed the muscle, and especially important as you age. So when you think about dosing, the minimum amount that an individual should have who is, say, over the age of 35 would be 30 grams of protein per meal. And that's between 4 to 5 ounces per meal.
now something we need to clarify there because, it's very different to eat lean chicken breast versus a fatty piece of wild salmon
Yes,
because you're gonna have
absolutely.
the fat in there as well.
Right. And fish has around 5 grams of protein per 1 ounce. So you need more. And now, if it's salmon, you've now double or tripled your fat intake. So I tend to choose leaner cuts of protein for that exact reason.
Okay. And so how about like what is going to make your protein needs vary? Like obviously I'm looking at you and you're a little bitty thing. I am not. I've got like what, like 8 inches on you. And women versus men, athlete versus non-athlete, or someone healing from, say, surgery or what changes our protein needs? How do we know how much for our individual needs we need?
A great rule of thumb is 1 gram per pound of ideal body weight, assuming that you're not extremely heavy. So if your body fat percent is 18% or lower, 20% or lower, and maybe you are struggling with a little bit of weight issues or you're lean, then a great recommendation is 1 gram of protein per pound of ideal body weight. So for example, me, I'm tiny, like you said, 120 pounds. My ideal body weight is around 120 pounds, and my grams of protein is equivalent to that. And that is a great rule of thumb for anybody. The more calorie restricted you get, so if someone is on, say, a diet where they're going lower calories, the more protein you need because you need to protect that muscle tissue.
And what about if someone is, say, recovering from, surgery or an accident, something like that? Does that shift things?
That absolutely does. So that would increase the protein need. And you could have an extra 40 to 50 grams of high quality protein. So we're not talking about plant-based protein, an extra 40 to 50 grams on top of what your ideal body weight would be if you're going through a surgery or an illness. That should really be your focus macronutrient.
What about as you age?
I love this
I
question.
mean, because okay, and why? So we are losing it as we age. I'm not.
No, you are
I
definitely
am
not.
not losing it.
You're
But
everybody's hero.
I'm just like every year I go, it's like, okay, well now 55 is the new 30. But but are people losing it as they age because of inactivity, because of hormone shifts? What is going on that's making them lose muscle as they
Well,
age?
as individuals age, there is a decrease in your sex hormones, and that definitely affects muscle tissue. There's also something interesting that happens called anabolic resistance. And what that means is that as you age, your body and your muscles become less efficient at utilizing the protein that you ingest. Changing first of all, the amount of protein you eat at one meal is essential. As an individual ages, having any less than 30 grams of protein per meal, and the ideal is going to be between 30 and 50. And this is really interesting because it's independent of if you're male or female or your size. The overall amount of protein is dependent on your size, but the amount at one time is independent. So, what that means is that as you age, no matter what, you're male or female, your protein need would be between 30 and 50 grams per meal to overcome that anabolic resistance that happens as we mature.
And you're saying per meal, so I want to bring that up. Um, Because is there an upper limit as to how much you can assimilate at any one time? Is this something that you wanna make sure that you're getting it distributed throughout the day? What's important here?
In terms of you absorb all the protein that you ingest.
Yeah,
The
because that was a big, it's like I know we're gonna talk about some myth busting,
Yeah,
but I look at old myth busting that there used to be. One of the big myth busting things or myths in vegetarian and veganism was you had to like eat these exactly this, like combine everything at each meal. And then the other one was like, don't eat over this amount of protein at a meal because your body won't assimilate it.
very
So
complicated.
um, very complicated. You're like, it's like you get fearful at a meal, like, "What happens here?" It's like, it's ridiculous.
So, in terms of distributing over time, that's actually key. If you're eating 2 meals a day, then your amount of protein per meal needs to obviously be higher. I typically have individuals either eat 2 to 3 meals, depending on the person. And it should really be scheduled 4 hours apart. 4 to 5 hours is ideal. It allows for that muscle to reset, and then you get an optimal stimulation so that you can continue to build muscle as you age.
Yeah, I remember I actually helped. I used to work with pro boxers, believe it or not. I have like had a bizarre background in health, and I used to work with a lot of sports guys. I worked with the U.S. Olympic swimming team. I worked with pro boxers, and then I helped Superman get his muscle. And when I did that, I was having them eat every 4 hours and making sure that they got enough muscle in. But I think now, and I love that you brought that up, because this idea that, well, I think we're both anti-snacking, this breakfast, lunch, snack,
Absolutely. Absolutely.
ridiculous. But I love that you brought in 2 to 3 meals, because you don't need to eat 3 meals necessarily.
Right.
So that's the other piece of it, right?
That's absolutely right. It's challenging to get enough protein in, especially as you age. But if when I think about protein, I think really protein over carbohydrates and protein over fat. Protein has so many excellent qualities, and it's not just about building muscle. It increases the amount of fat that you burn in your body. It helps your immune cells. It helps repair your gut. It does all these amazing things. So if I had to pick one thing to eat, I would err higher on the protein than I would the fat or the carbohydrates.
So any other weird myths that we could bust out there that come to mind?
Yes. How about this one? Protein is bad for the bone. We know, in
Oh,
fact,
yes. What about protein, bones and kidney?
let's
Bones and
talk
kidney.
about that. So, bone is actually made from protein. Those individuals that consumed higher protein throughout their life had highest bone density. That's a massive myth. And the other one that I hear all the time is protein is bad for the kidneys. In fact, we know that if you have good functioning kidneys, protein actually helps increase their efficiency.
Where did all this come from?
The myths or the science?
The myths. I mean, the myths on bone health. I'm assuming the bone health one came from the people being concerned about the acidity of protein, but I would assume that that is very easy to offset if you're eating vegetables like you should be.
Absolutely. Absolutely. And we know that the acid alkaline story isn't really true, that the body does a very good job at buffering. And if you're eating any kind of green vegetables or a green drink, then that really does offset it. The other thing that people talk a lot about is that protein causes cancer. And that is 100% not true. In fact, there's never been any data to prove that has been done in humans or when you look at the statistics, if you actually look at the papers, it's not true. I'll give you an example. There is something called a risk ratio, right? And that just means that the higher the number, the more likelihood that it's correlated to cancer or that thing. Smoking and cancer has a number of 12, right? Protein and cancer has a number of 1.3. In order for anything to be considered significant, it has to be 2 or above. All that in saying that protein absolutely does not cause cancer. There's never been any evidence that shows that or indicates that.
Hmm. So let's flip back over to muscle, because obviously diet's key here, but someone wanted to make sure as they age that they are not losing muscle, that they're holding on to or building muscle, or as they're trying to lose body fat. What are some tips you can give them around that?
Do resistance training. I think that you can do it 3 to 4 days a week is a great place to start. There is science that shows it doesn't actually have to be heavy as long as you're putting an effort and going to failure. As you age, that's really important. This is research out of Canada, McMaster University, which is phenomenal. They have recently published a study that shows that as long as you are putting an effort to failure, then you still get the benefits of protecting your muscles, protecting against sarcopenia. So 3 to 4 days a week of either heavier lifting, or lighter load, more repetitions.
And, I get asked all the time, so I'm glad you said it that way. People are like, how much weight should I lift? I go, whatever you can in good form, right? I mean, it's like there isn't a weight. It's the weight that you can lift. And I like to have people work in the 8 to 12 repetitions. I always say if you can't get to 8, lighten it up. And if you get past 12, make it heavier.
Yeah.
Because when I was doing my graduate work, I had to build muscle as quickly as possible.
Well, you've got a
and
lot of muscle. You really do. You've been training your whole life. So
yeah, well, this was for people I was bringing in. I was bringing in students, and I had to help them put on muscle as quickly as possible, and that was definitely the range that seemed
yes.
to help the most. So,
And then having protein after your training session, because the blood is now in the muscle, so the nutrients can actually get to the muscle. So after you weight lift, then having a protein meal is absolutely ideal. And this is where shakes come in an excellent way, so that individuals who don't want to eat after they train still get the amino acids.
yeah. Yep, that is my favorite recovery, is to use a supplement, a shake supplement after your workout. It's like, because it's just so easy to do. So I love all of this, and I'm also super excited that you have an amazing gift for everybody. It's really cool, and I want you actually to describe it. You're going to give out your Lyon protocol, the 4-week optimal protein nutrition program designed to reset your metabolism. So what are they going to get?
They are going to read this and know exactly how to plan out their protein meals. They're going to have, from the beginning to the end, how their day looks. There's some recipes in there, reasons why muscle is important, how to eat it, how to eat it over the day. It's really a great program based in 30 years of science. So it's
free to everybody.
It is free. That's right.
Oh my gosh. Thank you so much for that. So you can grab that at jjvirgin.com/muscle. I know we went through a lot of things here too. I'll put an optimal list of great clean animal protein. I hope that's one of the key takeaways here, is that what you eat. Like I always say, you are what you eat ate. And we've got to make sure that we're eating clean animal protein. It is non-negotiable. Like I just did a TV show today, and the host was saying, "Oh, but the grass-fed and finished beef is so much more expensive." I go, "Because it's worth it. Like you can't eat the other stuff. It's garbage."
Yes.
So again, you can grab all of this at jjvirgin.com/muscle. And Gabrielle, thank you so much for all your amazing information today. I so appreciate you.
Thank you.
This is the time where I answer a listener's question, and this one came up when I was doing Facebook Live. I grab a lot of these from my Facebook and Instagram Lives. I like to simulcast that. So join me over at jj.virgin on Insta or JJ Virgin Official on Facebook. I try to go on a couple times a week, and I have a bunch of fun guests on too. So it's a good time. Come join me. Anyway, someone jumped in and was like, all right, what do you eat for protein? So here's what I do. My trifecta is clean protein, healthy fat, and fiber from loads of non-starchy vegetables and a little bit of slow, low-impact carbs. And so my typicals are this. I do my bone broth protein powder, my JJ Virgin all-in-one protein powder. And we'll put the smoothie recipe for this in the notes, where I throw in some greens, some avocado. Sometimes I throw in some berries. I tend to not do that though. I put cherries in for my hubby. He loves those. But I tend to do coconut milk and a little bit of green banana for the resistant starch, a little avocado. I keep that frozen. It works really well. And then my bone broth protein and some ice. And then what I really love to do is swirl in some almond butter, salty. Love that combo of sweet and salt. So that's one of the things that I do. And then the other thing I tend to do is have a salad on a regular basis. Now, the protein sources I tend to eat the most are, and what we like to do is make protein, and then I'll have the leftover the next day, is pastured pork. We'll do like once a week, wild salmon or halibut. I try to do fish a couple times a week. Pretty much the fish I eat are wild salmon or halibuts, and then scallop, shrimp, lobster, or crab. My favorites there are these like big stone crab claws that I dip in ghee, grass-fed ghee. Oh my gosh. I will do chicken. I think chicken's the hardest thing to find really clean, but pastured chicken. And then while grass-fed beef, I feel the best getting grass-fed beef in a couple times a week, but I do very clean grass-fed and grass-finished beef. And so that's where I tend to eat my protein. And then if I'm cooking some at dinner, we like to make some that's left over for the next day. Makes it easy peasy. So a lot of times lunch is a salad with that, and then I'll throw in some nut cheese or some nuts. And so I get my healthy fats, my protein, loads of non-starchy vegetables, easy. And then dinner is always some kind of slow, low carb, wild rice, some squash, some potato, and then some loads of non-starchy vegetables, cauliflower rice, Brussels sprouts, and broccoli are kind of our go-tos. I love shaved broccoli that's stir-fried, and then some kind of protein. And that's it, man. That's how simple this really is. I just get really clean protein and I keep it in the freezer. Shout outs to my buddies over at Vital Choice for my wild fish, the best wild fish anywhere. Amazing. And we'll put some of the resources of the protein sources that we really like in the show notes and how to get them. There you go. So it's easy for you to do. All right. I want to remind you again, jjvirgin.com/muscle to grab those show notes. And I would love to shout you out on the next show. So if you haven't left a review yet, please do. And if there's something you want me to yak about or a guest you want, just let me know and I will go hunt them down. All right. It's been great. I so appreciate you. Bye.